Let's analyze a residential standby generator installation and address concerns raised by the authority having jurisdiction, or AHJ. The electrician installed a 400 amp meter base outside, feeding two 200 amp main breaker panels inside. The homeowner wanted one of these 200 amp panels connected to an automatic standby generator. Due to the panel's location, the electrician installed a 200 amp feed-through panel outside, near the meter, to serve as a disconnect for the generator's automatic transfer switch, which was located inside. This led to two remarks from the AHJ. The first remark stated service disconnects must be grouped, either all inside or all outside. The installation had one inside and one outside. The second remark stated fused and non-fused conductors cannot run through the meter base. Let's examine these concerns based on the National Electrical Code, or NEC. Firstly, let's address the grouping of service disconnects. The electrician referenced NEC 230.72b regarding additional service disconnecting means. This section allows for additional service disconnects for fire pumps, emergency systems, legally required standby, or optional standby services, to be installed remotely from the 1 to 6 service disconnects for normal service. The purpose is to minimize the possibility of simultaneous interruption of supply. In this case, the automatic transfer switch acts as an additional service disconnecting means for the generator and optional standby system. Therefore, locating the 200 amp feed-through panel outside, near the meter, and the original 200 amp main breaker panels inside does not necessarily violate the NEC, provided the installation meets other requirements. Secondly, let's consider the AHJ concern about running fused and non-fused conductors through the meter base. The electrician argued that the meter base is an enclosure, not a raceway, and referenced NEC 230.7. NEC 230.7 states that conductors other than service conductors shall not be installed in the same service raceway or service cable. The key here is the distinction between a raceway and an enclosure. A raceway is defined as a channel designed expressly for holding wires, cables, or busbars with additional functions as permitted in the NEC. Examples of raceways include conduits, tubing, and cable trays. An enclosure, on the other hand, is a housing used to protect electrical components from the environment and to prevent accidental contact. A meter base is generally considered an enclosure. The electrician ran the feeder from the new 200 amp panel outside through a separate polyvinyl chloride, or PVC, nipple to the meter base. This means the service conductors feeding the 200 amp outside panel and the feeder conductors running from the 200 amp service disconnect panel through the meter base to the transfer switch are in separate PVC nipples. If the meter base is indeed an enclosure and the service and feeder conductors are run through separate conduits or nipples, NEC 230.7 is not violated. To summarize, the electrician's interpretation of NEC 230.72b seems valid, allowing the remote location of the generator's disconnect. Regarding the meter base, as long as it's considered an enclosure and the conductors are separated as described, NEC 230.7 is not violated. This analysis hinges on proper identification and marking of the disconnects, as required by NEC 230.72a, which states that each disconnect shall be marked to indicate the load served. The 2 to 6 disconnects as permitted in 230.71 shall be grouped. The NEC doesn't explicitly prohibit running fused and non-fused conductors through a meter base enclosure if they are properly insulated and separated. For clarity, let's delve deeper into the specific code sections mentioned. NEC 230.71 addresses the maximum number of service disconnects. It generally permits up to 6 service disconnecting means for each service. This section is relevant because it establishes the context for 230.72, which discusses the grouping of these disconnects. NEC 230.72 mandates the grouping of the 2 to 6 disconnects permitted in 230.71. This means they should be located together for easy access and operation. However, the exception to this rule, as detailed in 230.72b, allows for remote placement of disconnects for specific applications like fire pumps or standby systems. This exception is crucial in the generator installation scenario. NEC 230.7 prohibits mixing service conductors with other types of conductors in the same raceway or cable. This rule aims to prevent fault conditions and ensure the integrity of the service conductors. The definition of service conductors is also critical. Service conductors are defined as the conductors from the service point to the service disconnecting means. In this case, the conductors from the utility to the meter base are service conductors. The conductors from the meter base to the 200 amp panel inside, feeding the automatic transfer switch, are feeder conductors. The distinction between service and feeder conductors is what makes NEC 230.7 relevant. If the electrician had run the feeder conductors alongside the service conductors within the same raceway inside the meter base, it would have been a clear violation of 230.7. However, by using separate PVC nipples, the electrician aimed to comply with the code's intent. The AHJ concern likely stems from a misunderstanding of the installation or a strict interpretation of the code. It's important to note that local amendments to the NEC may exist which could influence the AHJ perspective. These amendments can vary by jurisdiction and often reflect specific local conditions or concerns. It is always a good idea to discuss the situation with the AHJ, referencing the specific NEC sections and providing a clear explanation of the installation's design and safety features. In situations where interpretations differ, it may be necessary to seek a formal interpretation from a qualified electrical inspector or engineering professional. Proper documentation of the installation, including detailed diagrams and calculations, can also be helpful in resolving any discrepancies. Furthermore, ensuring that all components used in the installation are listed and labeled by a recognized testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories, or UL, provides an additional layer of assurance regarding safety and compliance. In conclusion, the electrician's approach appears to be code compliant based on the information provided. However, it's crucial to maintain open communication with the AHJ and address any remaining concerns through clear explanations and documentation. The goal is to ensure a safe and reliable electrical installation that meets both the NEC requirements and the AHJ expectations. Now, let's consider some potential best practices for similar generator installations. Firstly, prior to commencing any work, it is always advisable to consult with the local AHJ to discuss the proposed installation and address any potential concerns upfront. This proactive approach can help prevent misunderstandings and ensure a smoother inspection process. Secondly, when installing a generator and transfer switch, it is beneficial to locate the transfer switch as close as possible to the existing electrical panel it will be serving. This minimizes the length of feeder conductors required and reduces the potential for voltage drop. Thirdly, if it is necessary to install a disconnect means outside, as in this case, consider using a weatherproof enclosure specifically designed for outdoor use. This will protect the components from the elements and ensure long-term reliability. Fourthly, when routing conductors through enclosures, always use appropriate fittings and connectors to ensure a secure and watertight connection. This will prevent moisture from entering the enclosure and causing corrosion or electrical faults. Fifthly, clearly label all disconnects and conductors to identify their purpose and the loads they serve. This will facilitate future maintenance and troubleshooting. Sixthly, ensure that the generator is properly sized to meet the load requirements of the panel it will be serving. Overloading the generator can lead to overheating and premature failure. Seventhly, follow the manufacturer's instructions for installation and maintenance of the generator and transfer switch. This will ensure proper operation and extend the lifespan of the equipment. Eighthly, consider installing a surge protection device at the service entrance to protect the electrical system from voltage spikes and surges. This can help prevent damage to sensitive electronic equipment. Ninthly, ensure that the generator is properly grounded in accordance with the NEC requirements. This will provide a safe path for fault current and protect against electric shock. Tenthly, perform regular maintenance on the generator, including oil changes, filter replacements, and inspections of the wiring and connections. This will ensure that the generator is ready to operate when needed. Lastly, document the entire installation, including wiring diagrams, equipment specifications, and inspection reports. This documentation will be helpful for future reference and maintenance. Furthermore, let's address some frequently asked questions about generator installations and NEC compliance. One common question is whether a generator can be connected to an existing electrical panel without a transfer switch. The answer is no. A transfer switch is essential to isolate the generator from the utility grid and prevent backfeeding, which can be dangerous and illegal. Another question is whether a permit is required for a generator installation. In most jurisdictions, a permit is required for any electrical work, including generator installations. It's always best to check with the local AHJ to determine the specific requirements. Another question concerns the proper grounding of a generator. The NEC requires generators to be grounded in accordance with Article 250. The specific grounding requirements depend on the type of generator and the wiring system. Another question is about the proper sizing of a generator. The generator should be sized to meet the anticipated load requirements of the panel it will be serving. It's important to consider the starting wattage of appliances and equipment, as some items require significantly more power to start than to run. Another question is regarding the maintenance requirements for a generator. Generators require regular maintenance, including oil changes, filter replacements, and inspections of the wiring and connections. The manufacturer's instructions should be followed for specific maintenance recommendations. Another question addresses the location of a generator. Generators should be located in a well-ventilated area away from combustible materials. They should also be protected from the elements such as rain and snow. Another question concerns the use of flexible conduit for connecting a generator. Flexible conduit is permitted for connecting a generator, but it must be properly sized and installed in accordance with the NEC requirements. Another question is about the use of extension cords with the generator. Extension cords should be used sparingly and should be properly sized for the load they will be carrying. It's important to avoid overloading extension cords, as this can create a fire hazard. Another question is about the use of ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, with a generator. GFCIs are required in certain locations such as wet areas and outdoor receptacles when using a generator. Another question is about the use of arc fault circuit interrupters, or FSIs, with a generator. FSIs are required in certain circuits such as bedroom circuits when using a generator. These frequently asked questions highlight the importance of understanding the NEC requirements and following best practices when installing a generator. By addressing these concerns and ensuring compliance with the applicable codes and standards, you can ensure a safe and reliable generator installation. Remember to always consult with a qualified electrician and the local AHJ to obtain specific guidance and ensure compliance with all applicable regulations.